Welcome back to Creative Perspectives. I'm Brandy. Thank you so much for your viewership, your likes, your subscribes. I'm so thankful for that. I saw my analytics and wow, thanks. Thank you. If I could bless you, if I'm helping in some way, shape, or form, thank you. Okay. So today's topic is sabotaged by savages. Okay. It was inspired by a book that I used to read to my son. It's called I Said No. It's a kid-to-kid guide on keeping private parts private, and it's written by Zach and Kimberly King. It's designed to help kids understand different red flags far as molestation, the grooming phase of molestation, or child rape. And as a parent, obviously when your kid is like 3 or 4, it's hard to try to describe or to talk to them about, people who prey on children. So this book, I was searching around for a book and I finally found one, and here you go. This is a close-up of what it looks like. Okay. So I hope if you have new children, if you're a caretaker, instructor somewhere where you're dealing with younger children, this is an amazing book on helping you to explain green flag, red flag behaviors, and green flag and red flag people to children. Okay, I am only going to read 2 pages and then we're going to get started. I'm on page 7 and we're going to do 7 through 9. Okay. Red and green flags. What do I mean by green flag people? So that I can remember all of this important stuff, I imagine something funny in my brain. Imagine a ship sailing on the ocean and a funny little sailor. The funny little sailor is putting a green flag up over his ship. The ship that sails with the green flag on the ocean means all is safe. There are gentle seas. Everything is okay. You feel safe and comfortable. You are happy. Smooth sailing ahead. But red flag is raised on a ship when there are dangerous seas ahead. Red means bad. Red means stop. Red is danger. Red flag should go up on your ship if you are with someone and you find yourself feeling upset, uncomfortable, lonely, sad, angry, scared, yucky, or in danger. Okay, so we're going to keep it there because once you get this book, and I would encourage every new parent to get it because you really do have predators out there. And hopefully a child is not in a family where the caretaker is the red flag. So we definitely, never mind. I'll be praying about that. Let's go to our Bible scripture now. I have 3 scriptures that I chose. One is Psalms 127 verses 3. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb, a reward. Matthew chapter 18, verses 6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. Last but not least, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and the instruction of the Lord. That's all I would say about that. I'm not a pastor, mind you. I don't want to be. So I'll read the scripture, but I'll let you be responsible for your interpretation of the scripture. Because God bless our pastors. They have a really large job to do. I like to stay in my lane. My lane is pray, and then I could take it to the Bible when I need to. So, or just have the Bible ready, Anyway, let's get to our topic. This topic was really inspired by people who I've encountered in my lifetime who disclose their stories in reference to their experiences as a child. Some were unprotected. Some were unsupported by their caregivers. When they disclosed they had some form of molestation or rape that happened to them. When I saw, obviously they're adults, so when I saw the outcome of their lives, it inspired this video. From what I've experienced, and I can only speak from my perspective, not everybody's perspective, but and the information I was able to obtain based on the people I've encountered who've chose to disclose to me. I never say names. I'm a big fan of that. I like to share the experiences because I believe the experiences is what may help another individual rise up, get help, heal, try to find a healthy way to process their emotions when it comes to that. But the outcome that I was able to witness from these individuals is, and ask the right questions about it was, I met one lady when I worked in LA, and, she was molested, and there was no protection in her home because the caregivers were part of the problem. So she resorted to, dealing with women relationships only. So she said she wasn't originally trying to say this. It's because back in the day they changed the term so much. So she went from pretty much being heterosexual to just she doesn't want any men around her, near her, that type of deal. Okay. I know the experience for people when they go through traumas, their outcomes are different. So that's only one person's outcome. It's not everybody's outcome. So I want to keep that in perspective. Another situation that I disclosed was, or that I was exposed to, was through talking with another young lady who's older than I am. I'm 41. But with her situation, she's never committed, in a relationship, and always picked men that were taken and not available. And that was the outcome of her. Then I met some people who are pop pills, it's their way of coping, or they do alcohol, they do drugs, or they're extremely promiscuous, or just extremely repulsed by sexual encounters altogether, or they just refrain from sex altogether. I'm hoping I can help in some way, shape, or form. I think for my relationship and my walk with God, He gets me when I'm sleeping. So as soon as I go to sleep, it's like in my sleep, clear messages come, So the message was to do a series on child rape, child sexual trauma, child molestation. Now, I've never been molested when I was a kid, but that was the message. And because I have a robust experience far as encountering people with their stories, I don't know what it is. I don't know what God did for me or to me, but He has it to where people share everything, and they just come up to me. Like, I was at my son's jiu-jitsu class yesterday, and a lady came in and she looked like she was pacing very antsy, and then I looked at her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No, she's not okay." And I asked her, let's step outside and we could go talk about it. Because in, jiu-jitsu classes, the instructor, they'll look at you because they need complete silence, so because they're dealing with a lot of children. So we went outside and, she disclosed that her husband passed away. And I just told her, I'm so sorry. I told her about my father passing away and how that was a traumatic experience for me. And she said, no, she was mad as hell. And those were her exact words. And I said, mad? I was like, I know, but you might be mad for a long time. She was like, no, you don't understand. She said, I was married to him for 7 years. And he was completely, unfaithful to her. And he ended up dying from taking Viagra pills and making these tapes with women. And so she found out everything after he passed away, when she was clearing his things out, of their home. So pretty much he died in his sin. He took Viagra. He was young. She said he was 47 years old. And I was like, oh my God, that's extremely young. And I told her, I'm sorry, to hear about her situation. It's unfortunate, that she had to go through that. But sometimes in the Bible it does say the wages of sin. Not sometimes, it's in the Bible. The wages of sin is death. So it was that was the first encounter that I have heard about where it really was true. So he died from taking unprescribed Viagra just to have multiple women. And then I guess once he passed, she was able to find the tapes as far as why he was taking all of that Viagra. So I don't know if he overdid it or something, but she said it's been an ongoing issue that she just learned about when he passed. So, I was like, that's devastation. First you learn the person dies from the sin of of cheating on you, and then also you discover and uncover all these secrets, and then you still have to bury them because you're trying to be a decent human being. But yeah, she was devastated. So she says she wants to join the jiu-jitsu class so that she can get all her anger and her venom out, because she needs it. And I told her, I gave her a hug, and I told her, about my situation, which is very different from hers, but not far as having somebody that was, out there, completely taking people for granted and causing pain and harm. And I talked about narcissistic, the psychopath that was in my life that, I, went down the aisle with. So, and sometimes you pay the price for, because of the deceptions that are made by other people's choices, and it can impact your life. So let's get back on topic, because I don't want this to be long. I listened to criticism and they said, oh, the video is super long, it's good, but it's long. And then another lady said I need to be more confident when I speak. So I'm trying one thing at a time. Can't do everything. But Sabotaged by Savages, the impact that it leaves in a person's life when they are rejected, unprotected, not believed, grieving on their own. They're left to grieve on their own. They're left to find the answers on their own. Now remember, as children, we really don't have those sexual thoughts, in our head. We're more like hitting each other, running around, being crazy. We're not crazy, but you get what I'm saying. House full of kids, oh Lord. But you're running around and you're just being a child. And then adult seeks you out, picks you out of the lineup to start grooming that child into acts that they shouldn't have, or just flat out raping the child. And it's unfortunate when the impact that it leaves on the kid, but it's also unfortunate when you have caretakers who know, and they do not protect for the sake of themselves, to save themselves, instead of looking at protecting their children and making sure that the people and the individuals that they bring into their kids' lives are green flag people first. Sometimes I believe people could want a relationship so bad to where they're willing to sacrifice, or if they come to a situation unhealed as the caretaker of a child, mother, father, adopted person, whatever you want to call it, but for the sake of themselves, selfishness, self-absorbed behaviors, and narcissistic tendencies. They have a tendency to forget about their children, or not to technically forget about them, but to put their own needs ahead of their children, to the point where they will allow another grown person to touch a child. And then I've heard of the ones where after they rape the child, they're sitting up there blaming the child for a grown person's behavior that sought that child out. Children have the right to be children. They have the right to evolve and develop in a normal sense. And then you have some people who, prey on the innocence of children. And then you could also have it to where a step parent does something to an actual child, of the person they're married to, and then the person that they're married to is just not doing anything about it. When I go to edit, I will add some resources underneath when I'm talking. In some states, if you have grown up under a roof or with a caretaker who has caused you harm, or allowed another individual to cause you harm, and they knew about it, they clearly knew that this was going on, and they did absolutely nothing to save themselves. In some states, you can sue in civil court the people who allowed you to become harmed. Period. So I will put some resources, when I go to do the edit, so that you can read underneath it, because obviously I can't multitask. I can't sit there. I'll be on here Googling, and then this, even if I take notes, I get distracted by notes. So it's better for me just to talk and get better over time, and maybe take another public speaking class that I took a long time ago. But I can use, I like brushing up on skills when I feel they've been neglected for a while. So anyway, getting back to it, there are resources out there, and I will list the resources, and there are numbers that you could call if you are in trouble. I know, like, if they have the national, it's called RAINN, RAINN, their network, where they deal with sexual assault cases and abuse cases, and you could call them up and they could give you help right away. There's also the rape crisis line. When I got raped, that was the first place that I called after I got myself together. During the time when the assault happened, I called my mother. She was at work, and that's the one that happened in 2018, to be exact, by an extended, somebody I knew and was with, for an extended period of time, for maybe 10 years. But crime is crime. It doesn't matter how long you've been with somebody, crime is crime. So anyway, let's get back to it. So I will include the resources below. So just know that I may not speak about it because I want to get the message out, but I will list it so that if you need the help, it's there. Okay, if you're suicidal, they do have a suicide line, so I'll also do that. Our main thing is prevention. Okay, when somebody performs a crime on you, that's definitely not your fault, one way or the other. I know people like to say all kind. Well, I won't say people. Then I'm speculating on people I don't know and viewers I don't know, but I would say crime is crime. Bottom line, there's no escaping that, and there's no going around that either. And there's no blaming and shaming, victims. I don't believe in that. My thing is, people know what they're doing before they do it. If a grown person is grooming a child and the other parent is on standby allowing it to happen, I wish America could definitely work to put more policies and laws into effect for that to become a crime too. And it may be, I'm not well versed in all states and how that work. I don't know if that's like the person being an accessory to the crime. You're allowing it to happen. You should be judged too and punished for it because you've been notified, and it should be handled. A kid should not have to grow up, and this is just from my view, should not grow up carrying that heavy burden. They should be in school learning, becoming better individuals, learning what being an individual is all about, managing their emotions, learning, developing their voice, developing their skills in life, making friends, creating social circles. That's what they should be doing. But some people, for the sake of money or the sake of having a man or a woman in their lives, they'll be willing to allow their own seed that they have to be harmed or for a crime to be committed in their own home for the sake of their own needs and their own wants and their own desires that supersedes protecting something that can't necessarily protect themselves. I'm not going to go in on the caregiver too much, and the reason why is because, like everything I've ever said, an unhealed person can potentially be a dangerous person. And the reason why is because if a person is not there to help protect their own seed, there's something inside of them that needs to be addressed. And only, I believe, God could do that. Counseling could do that. Addressing anything that happened in their own life can do that too. Because sometimes people, if they are molested, they can perpetuate those cycles. You know what I'm saying? And some people, they grow out of it and they're like, I want to educate people against this because this happened to me. Everybody's outcome is so different, when they experience traumatic events or traumatic experiences. So not one size does not fit all. That person might need some mental counseling, the one that's allowing it to happen. You don't know if when they were younger, they were abused or beat down so much or to where they couldn't protect their children because they can't even protect their own mind and their heart space or their spiritual space. So that's why I'm not a big, or their physical space, because you do have people who are clearly abusive. That's why I'm all for women learning how to, defend themselves, especially in this day and age, and being empowered, financially too, because you don't want to romanticize becoming crippled in any way, because we don't live in the same world now. We're in a world where you have to produce, you have to make money, you have to figure things out, you have to get educated. If you don't, or you'll sink. There was a thing my dad used to say, shit or get off the pot, or sink or swim. You get what I'm saying? He told us all, when you're 18, everybody leaves the house because they've done their work. Their job was to raise us, protect us until we were older. Now, based on certain factors, my dad never let us have a sleepover. The only person's house I was allowed to go to was when I was younger was one lady. She was a store owner near our elementary school, and then her two daughters were the only sleepovers I've ever had, and she was a single mother at the time. But that was it. Outside of that, it was relatives that my dad felt that can be trusted, because not all relatives can be trusted in families, Another thing that's sad, that I find very, very, very sad, is the fact that if people have family members where they know they prey on children, they're not reported. They just allow it to happen, or they try to prevent children from being around that person. But if that person's not trying to get help or do better, then how about the reporting process starts? Get them adios out, because no child should have to endure any type of violence, especially physical or sexually, because somebody has like an insatiable appetite for a child. No child should have to go through that. So people know, some people have people in their family where they know that's what they're about and that's who they are, and it's not reported. So when these people are working around other people's children, you don't know what's going on. And then we get the schools that where they're exposing caretakers inside the school, molesting children or raping children, and it's swept under the rug because it's if it's a larger institution, obviously not all teachers are like that, or caregivers in the schools, are like that. So that one person could damage and destroy a whole institution, so I understand why they try to, handle it, handle the person, but not destroy the institution sometimes, because as long as that person's in jail or prison or something, or, then that might suffice for that situation. But my thing is, when we're talking about reporting in families, why should an adult be protected over an innocent child that they saw out, and that they made a cognitive decision to cause harm, and they took time, they calculated it, they planned for it. You get what I'm saying? So that should not be given a pass by any means. People say I'm protective, maybe too protective of my son, but I do allow him to have freedoms in green flag places. And then when people look like they're overly willing to babysit, that's a red flag for me. No, you don't need to babysit my son, because why? I don't know you. And if I don't know you, that's a red flag. And if you're volunteering to do it, then that's definitely sends up a red flag, in my book. So the way I look at it, just to protect my own, is not just handing out resources to my son. So he has the I Said No book that he grew up with when he was younger, because that's designed for a younger aged generation. And then they have a book, and I have to look this one up, and I'll just put it in the next show, whether we're talking about the topic or not. I'll just go sideways and then put it in there, or I might just put it in the graphics in this video when I go to edit it. But it's they have a girl and a boy book, and it's called the Body Book for boys. And then they have one for girls, but obviously if you have a boy, you want to stick with what you have, So, but it goes through all the stages of their growth so that they can understand it. Because sometimes kids, even as they become teenagers, they may not ask you every detailed question about what's happening with their body, their emotions, their hormones. They might just ask you about certain aspects, but not all. But getting them to read about it can definitely help. And then if they need to come to you with questions, then that's where our job comes in. Or we could just ask, do you need, okay, you got that book? Okay, good. So anyway, that's all I would like to say about the topic, to keep it short. But my thing is, let's get us out there. Let's get people healed. If you have undergone, went through that situation, like some of the cases I've disclosed, indirectly, but directly, then, my heart goes out to you. I definitely pray a lot for people, because I understand going through something like that, especially unhealed and unprotected, can leave scars, especially because processing those emotions as a young child is difficult. I mean, I know when I talked about this in a different video, when I was assaulted the very first time, that pretty much did a lot to me, because I was a teenager trying to process it, because you're at that stage, you're learning about becoming who you are, learning about what you think, quote unquote, at the age of 17 marks love. And it's really tough, you know, going through that when it's disrupted, because you're looking at college, you're looking at that. So I went to college later on because me and my first husband moved because of the behaviors of stalking and the assault, the rape that actually took place. And so it kind of changed my world for a little bit. So I get it, you know, but when you're talking about a child that's way too young and it takes them a lot more time to become the adult, that's a lot of lag time for that person not to have the help or not to know how to process the emotions, and then the demonic nature that may be going on behind the closed doors to keep that kid quiet as well, or keep them, you know, from saying anything, which is a whole nother ball game. You know, kids who act out in schools or in different areas, maybe we should be looking at the family structure, you know, at the house to find out, okay, let's unlock why this kid is. We always talk about the kid's behavior, but why not talk about where is it coming from? What's the root cause of this child's behavior? Why is this kid acting like that? Why are they always agitated? Why are they always angry? And not just, oh, I heard my parents arguing, but is there something going on with them? You know, maybe giving teachers and tools to look out for so they could report. You get what I'm saying? Or a caregiver so they could report. You get what I'm saying? But we also got to be careful with that, because then some people might have their biases hitting them, and then they might, you know, do that. So it's a big, broad spectrum of this. But my thing is, we need to heal families, you know, heal people. The only way we could do that is by being good support systems to them if they've already gone through that, and then providing preventative measures on how do we keep our kids safe so they can talk to us, and then what do we need to do with type of counseling, you know, the types of individuals who have the kids who are willing to take on a man and put a man over their child, or use finances as a way to not deal with the crime. How can we help heal those individuals as well? Because, you know, something had to have happened for them to not take responsibility for that child and to report and protect that child. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I'm Brandy. See you next time. Put a thumbs up, like, subscribe. This was a topic that was hard for me. Bye. God bless you.